Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. We're going to start today's ceremony as we should, and ask our Crete Carrier Honor Guard to present colors. Would you all please rise? Y'all please join us in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Well, again, welcome to Crete Carrier's Veterans Day celebration. I think I'd like to start off, please, would all of our veterans please stand? The veterans in the audience, if you please stand. I'll give them a round of applause. And I also think it's appropriate, anyone who is a family member of a veteran, whether you're a husband, wife, mother, father, sibling, I know your family members. If you please stand, I'd like to recognize all of you too, as we all know that it takes a lot of family support for all of our veterans too, so appreciate everything you do to support them. So Veterans Day. Veterans Day started in 1919, and it was called Armistice Day. And the reason it was called Armistice Day is that in November of 1918, on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, the Allied nations and Germany entered into an armistice to end World War I. And Congress then passed for that next year the Armistice Act to establish Armistice Day. And in the preamble to that act, they said, whereas it is fitting that the recurring anniversary of this date should be commemorated with thanksgiving and prayer, and exercises designated to perpetuate peace through goodwill and mutual understanding between nations. And after World War II, the United States decided we needed to honor more than just the World War I veterans, and they changed Armistice Day to Veterans Day, which is known today. In the first proclamation for Veterans Day, President Dwight D. Eisenhower said, in order to ensure proper and widespread observance of this anniversary, all veterans organizations, and the entire citizenry will wish to join hands in the common purpose. And that common purpose is to honor our veterans, and that's what we're doing here today. So thank you, veterans. This day is all about you. It's often said that Veterans Day is time for us to pay our respects to you, and it's the one day we become united in respect for our veterans. We at Crete Carrier are really proud to have so many veterans on our team. Nationally, about 10% of all the workforce is veterans. At Crete Carrier, we have over 30% of our team members that are veterans, so you're all very special to us. Crete Carrier is proud to have won a number of awards, the American Legion Employer of Veterans Award for Nebraska. We've run a lot of recognition from ESGR, the Employers in Support of Guard and Reserve, the Pro Patriot Award from them. We're a 5-star employer with them, and several individual recognitions. We've been named a top 100 veteran-friendly employer by Civilian Jobs, by the Military Friendly Organization. In fact, last week we just were named to that top 100 list again for this year. And we do a lot of things, and all of you do a lot of things to support Wounded Warrior, the employer partner for the Armed Forces, and the Operation Enduring Care program for the USO, race across America. I know many of our trucks are involved in parades, and many of you do things individually. However, today is not about Crete. I don't mention those things for us to take pride in ourselves. It's all about you. And it was that thought process that we had back in 2012 that really said, you know, the sacrifice of the veterans is more than one day. We shouldn't become united as one country just for one day to recognize you. We know that when you were in the service, you sacrificed 365 days a year, and we still have military members sacrificing for us 365 days a year. And so we said, how do we recognize all of our veterans each and every day? And we know that you don't ask for that recognition every day. I think a lot of you are like John McCrae. Now, many of you may not know who John McCrae is, but you probably know one of his famous poems. He's the writer of In Flanders Field, which is a poem about World War I and what it was like to be in service in World War I. But what many people don't know about John is that he actually volunteered for service at age 41, something he didn't have to do. And he wrote a lot of letters back and forth to his family and friends. And one of those letters he wrote, I am really rather afraid, which we can all understand, but more afraid to stay at home with my own conscience and not serve. And so I think it's like John that you all have that sense of duty as to why you're willing to sacrifice and do what you've done for us. And we really appreciate that, and we want to show great gratitude and respect for that. And this is why we created the Patriot Fleet back in 2012. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Patriot Fleet isn't just the trucks you see outside. The Patriot Fleet is recognition of all those veterans we have for us. We give them an emblem to put on the side of their truck. For those in the office and the shop, we give them an emblem to put in their workspace, much like on the hats of the two gentlemen there, so that we can recognize you every day. And just as important, it's so others can recognize you and recognize your service. The Patriot Fleet, we think, is a very special way to make that recognition to go even beyond Crete Carrier. As you're rolling down the highways, it's a reminder for the public to remember that there are so many veterans every day that serve us, and it's a way for them to show respect to you, but also to remember everything you've done. We know it's impossible to put a price on what veterans have given us, but we all do owe the veterans for what we have today. To repay them, we all must be responsible citizens. We should be active in our communities. We should serve roles on community boards and in the government. And most importantly, we should vote. I think that's when I talk to most of the veterans, that's what they know that they're out there for, so that we can have that vote, we can have that freedom. And so we owe it to them as community members. So today I'm proud to announce, as you all know, that we're adding 5 more trucks to our Patriot Fleet. And so our continuing way to say thank you, we respect you, and we honor your service. And today we're also very proud to have General Bohac here to help us learn and more understand what it means to be service. So I'd like to introduce General Bohac, please, now if you'd come up. Major General Daryl Bohac serves as the Adjutant General, Nebraska National Guard, Lincoln, Nebraska. He is the Senior Uniformed National Guard officer responsible for formulating, developing, and coordinating policies, programs, and plans affecting more than 4,800 Army and Air National Guard personnel. Appointed by the Governor, General Bohac serves as a member of the Governor's staff and is the Director of the Nebraska Military Department and the Nebraska Emergency Management Agency. He commands the Nebraska Army and Air National Guard and serves as the state's official channel of communication with the National Guard Bureau and the departments of the Army and the Air Force. General Bohac was commissioned as an officer in 1988. Prior to receiving his commission, he served as an enlisted member in the United States Marine Corps Reserve and the Nebraska Air National Guard. He has deployed in support of Operation Enduring Freedom as the Senior Air Reserve Component Advisor for the Air Force Command in Qatar. General Bohac also has deployed in support of Operations Noble Eagle, Decisive Endeavor, and Deliberate Guard. Welcome.
Thank you for that introduction, Tom. It's an absolute privilege to be with you today and to join some fellow veterans, including the ones out in the audience. And it is important that we do take time to reflect on and think about the value of military service Each person, when they join, and I think if you ask any one of these gentlemen up here why they joined the military service, will probably give you 5 different answers. It might even be different than mine. My story, really very simply, is a fellow person in high school walked up to me and said, "Hey, would you go talk to a Marine Corps recruiter with me?" And not knowing anything, I said yes. And then the next thing I know, we were talking about some of these experiences. Two of these men have served in the recruiting branches of each of their services. One with a little bit more joy than the other, I would say. But anyway, then the recruiters are in my house. I was 17 years old. I couldn't sign the paperwork myself. My parents had to sign it to give me permission to leave. And 10 days after I graduated from high school, I found myself in San Diego, California at the Marine Corps Recruit Depot, literally standing on yellow footprints because you aren't smart enough, according to the Marine Corps, to know where to stand, and wondering what I had gotten myself into. And if I'd have known in 1978 that I was going to still be serving in 2017, I would have told you no. That's not the story I would have expected to write. It's not the plan I had for my life, certainly. But yet here I am standing before you, still proudly serving, wearing the uniform of the Armed Forces of the United States and the United States Air Force. So when each of us join, we take an oath. We take an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States, and it's against all enemies, foreign and domestic. It's not an oath to an office. It's not an oath to the flag even. It's not an oath to some person, but to that document that our forefathers wrote, came together and fought over and argued. And if you read about that history, you know that some of them wanted a strong federal government. Others saw the government that we have today, which is a weaker form of central government, and many of the rights being conferred to the individual states to take care of. And then later came a Bill of Rights that really enshrines the things that we often think about, that when we talk about an oath to protect and defend. The right to gather like we are today without fear of persecution. The right for free speech, the right to bear arms, the right to gather, the right to petition our government when we're not happy with it. All those things that make us uniquely different among all the democracies across the world. And I've had the privilege of traveling in several different countries and being in some of those countries for a fair amount of time, as some of these folks have too, and perhaps they would agree with me today that, yeah, our form of democracy is not perfect, but it's the best form of democracy I've been privileged enough to live in. And so that's what we serve and protect each and every day that we wear the uniform. And I would offer to you too that even when they have left service, when a veteran has left the service and no longer wears the uniform of the armed forces, that oath that they took to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States is still in play in their hearts and in their minds. That they still bring that same passion, that same desire to be a part of something larger than themselves each and every day. And so I think for Warren, Matt, Frank, Roy, and James, that it's some of those qualities that are the reason that they were nominated and were selected. And I think, Winston, you're going to talk a little bit about that process, maybe I was told, or so Isaac, you will, okay. And so when you think about that, so what are those qualities that might be brought out? Well, I would say the things that I've learned and some of the things that they probably learned, and there's some things we learn in the military that you wouldn't want to bring home, but the things that they learned, that they were part of, were things like learning how to be a disciplined individual, to take initiative, to be loyal, to be dedicated, to be a part of a team, to be part of something larger than themselves, and know that their individual success would sometimes have to take, and would often take a back seat to the success of the organization, or in this case, to the success of Crete Carrier. I think also that for veterans, what I find in terms of their value to their communities is they're more likely to help others, more likely to independently solve problems, and more likely to understand the value of compliance for things like safety and other rules that others may not fully understand. I was thinking about, Tom, when you were talking about the origins of Armistice Day and now Veterans Day, that when I enlisted in 1978, we had just come out of a fairly tumultuous time, I would say, for our form of government and for our military. The military was hollowed out. It was a period of time when most people serving were drafted. They weren't there by choice. And then we'd suffered a crisis in our confidence in our federal government at that time. And it was in that period following the Vietnam War that General Abrams, Chief of Staff for the United States Army, said, we can no longer go to war, our nation, when it must, when it chooses to do so, can no longer go to war without bringing the community and the families into the fold as well. Because what happened in Vietnam, the National Guard or the Reserve was not mobilized. And so there were pockets of folks coming from across the United States of America, but they weren't coming from all over. And today, in today's world, the military must have that grassroots connection with the communities and the people that we serve, and the communities include the employers that we serve with. And so it's really a pleasure to be with you today and to be taking part of a ceremony in which a company values the veteran. I think about 10% on average, and 30% of your employees are veterans here. That tells me something about the community that's been created here at Crete Carrier and all its groups. And that there's a desire, a recognition for veterans and the value that they bring to the country, I would say explains why you have 30% of your workforce to be military veterans. So it's a pleasure to be with you today and to recognize these 5 individuals and to recognize every other veteran in the audience today. And congratulations to each one of you for the values and the things that you bring, the character that you bring to your job in each and every day that led to somebody nominating you and to be selected. So congratulations and happy Veterans Day to everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank the General for his service and for him coming here today. We are making him an honorary member of the Patriot Fleet. You don't get a full-size truck.
My wife's out.
Thank you. We're going to run a short video right now to give everyone an idea of what it takes to create one of these Patriot Fleet trucks. So we'll have that right on here, and it'll be about a 3-minute video.
Our military program here at Crete has been in development for quite a while now. Over the last couple of years, for sure, has come a long way.
The Patriot Fleet represents all of our veterans that have served past, present, and will serve in the future.
They're honoring the military, do these trucks up for them and say, hey, thank you for all your sacrifice.
When I first saw the truck, I was amazed. For me, the part that stood out the most was the fact that all branches of service have been represented by their seals on the side of the truck. Also, on the personal side, the silhouette of the soldier or service member in full battle rattle represents all of America's sons and daughters that have been deployed in defense of this nation.
It's an honor to be chosen out of all these other military people that work for Crete. And, to be able to drive one of these really nice trucks, can't wait to get behind the wheel.
Favorite part of the truck here, first thing I noticed today when I rolled through from Omaha was the eagle on top of the truck.
It represents freedom. The eagle's always been a symbol of freedom, and it is just, words can't describe it.
I'm very honored and very humbled to represent my brothers and sisters that have served this country in uniform.
Making a military transition to a civilian job is one of the scariest things in the world to a sailor, Marine, soldier, and airman. It's because we don't know what to expect out there. And with Crete, it's pretty doggone easy because with Crete, they help us. They help us get started out here. They tell us what they want from us. I guess I keep coming back to that because Crete is well structured, just like when I was in the military. A lot of times when we get out of the military, we don't think about what we need, but one of the things that we really need is benefits. So the benefits are good here.
My transition from the military to Crete Carrier Corporation was very smooth. I had an opportunity to get indoctrinated into Crete through 8 weeks of training with my trainer, at which time he took me out, he taught me about driving a truck, he taught me about living the life of being a truck driver, and really made the transition smooth for me. He didn't push, he taught, coached, and mentored at my pace.
If you're coming out of the military and you're looking for a stable career, Crete Carrier is the place to come.
That you can have a career after driving on the road too. He works upstairs with us in the operations team, but sometimes I think he wants to be back on the road, so he may be out there too. I think Dave Barron is here as well. Did he make it? He's going to come in. He's also another one of our Patriot Fleet drivers. Doesn't look like he made it. So we do appreciate everything all of our existing Patriot Fleet drivers do. We do have 20 Patriot Fleet trucks on the road. We're adding these additional 5, and 5 of those we have on with our Hunt Transportation folks up in Omaha. I'm now going to have Isaac Phillips come up. He's going to now tell us a little bit about the nomination process that we have to select the drivers to get these special trucks. So Isaac, will you please come up?
Thanks, Tim. General Bohac. Selection process is a lot of fun and very trying. We get a lot of candidates throughout the year, whether they tell us about their service and orientation, or whether we get recommendations from fleet managers. We look at a combination of different things, not only career, years of service in the military, years of service with our company, career miles, accident record, safety record. At the end of that, we do also a phone interview. And you get at the end of the day, you wish you had 100 of these trucks to give out, because there's a lot of deserving men and women out there. So we ended up with 5 very well-deserved additions to our Patriot Fleet this year. So it's my honor to introduce a few of those folks to you. Start out with our first recipient. Been in the Army for 21 years. Been with Crete Carrier for 6 years, operating out of the Cheyenne terminal, where he's driven over 750,000 safe miles with the company. He's also one of our driver trainers, and in his spare time loves fishing. In fact, he even carries his rod and his gear with him in the truck. While in the military, he was nicknamed MacGyver. He says he can fix everything with nothing. I'd like to present to you Warren Hartman. Warren, would you say a few words?
Well, I just want to say the reason why I came in the military is I was born in Korea and grew up here in Nebraska, and I just want to thank the veterans, men and women that served during the Korean War, because if they didn't serve, then I would not be here today. And by me serving is my way of saying thank you to you guys and ladies for your service for me to be able to do this.
Our next recipient spent 15 years in the Air Force and has been with Crete Carrier for 19 years, operating out of the Lenore City terminal. Over 700,000 accident-free miles. He started as a trainee and was one of the first victims, I'll say, of our trainer Bill Gobbin, and graduated from our VA apprenticeship program. He's since then become one of our driver trainers, and has had many accommodations throughout the year, but a couple things that he loves to talk about is speaking in front of a memorial of 2,500 people. So he'll be visiting several of the schools and truck shows for us, comfortable in that. Also loves to grow his hair out and donate those to Locks of Love. So a lot of good habits that he's done throughout the years. So at this point, I'd really like to introduce you to Matt Nickel. A few words, Matt?
It's a great honor. That's all I gotta say, sir. It's really is. For me to join the military, every service member here, you can probably vouch for it. Some of us did one tour, some of us re-enlisted several times. But one thing's for sure that we all have in common is that every single time that we enlist, is that we write a blank check up to, including our lives, to protect votes just of this great nation, because we love it that much. So,
Thank you. Our next recipient served 15 years in the Air Force and has been with Crete Carrier for 19 years. Operating out of the Cheyenne terminal, he's driven over 4.5 million miles. Many of those miles being in over 20 different countries. This gentleman's never smoked, never chewed, but is a stage 4 cancer survivor, throat cancer survivor. I'd like to introduce you to James White.
Well, I just say I've really enjoyed my time here at Crete, and I've been with other companies in the past and things like that, and they've all told me, don't ever let us see you back. And I said, no, the grass can't get no greener than what I got over here. And when I spent time in the military, I got out, and I tried my darndest to get back in when 9/11 kicked off, and they just wouldn't take me at that time. But I've enjoyed every minute that I've been in that I was in the military. My family's all ex-military in one way, shape, or form, and I'm just proud as a peacock that I got a picture from them. And I appreciate everything Crete's done for me over the years and stuff. Even when I was going through my cancer, they were there 100% for me. I can't say nothing. I have nothing negative to say about Crete Carrier whatsoever. They've been awesome to me. So thank you for everything.
Our next recipient spent 9 years with the Marines and Army National Guard. He was awarded the Presidential Unit Citation Award for his unit's work in Iran in 1979. He's been with Crete Carrier for 5 years, operating out of the New Kingstown terminal with 4 million miles behind him. He's a motorcycle enthusiast and proud owner of a classic 1987 Yamaha. Please let me introduce you to Roy Rayford.
You know, a lot of people here know me. A lot of people at my terminal know me. And I'm not going to believe this, but I'm almost at a loss of words. So I'm just going to say thank you.
You know, we talk about the military and not only thanking the veterans, but their families as well. And his wife, Betty, had surprised him in Lincoln yesterday and is here for the ceremony. So, Betty, thank you for coming in and thank you for supporting.
Thank you for all your assistance to get me here.
Yeah. Thanks for supporting Roy and all of us all these years. So. And last but not least, this recipient spent 8 years, Air Force and Air National Guard. Been with Crete Carrier for 18 years, operating out of the Marietta terminal with 2.5 million miles of experience. He's been awarded Marietta, Georgia Driver of the Year twice. Enjoys hunting, fishing in his downtime, and for some reason goes by the nickname Baldy. I'd like to introduce you to Frank Parker.
I really don't know what to say. I'm honored, I'm humbled, I've been blessed, and 30 years ago when I started driving, I never expect this in the future. I mean, just thank you.
talk about family support. Frank's family drove up here from the Tifton, Georgia area. Made the long drive up to be with him this weekend. So I want to introduce his wife, Shelly, daughter, Amber, and granddaughters, Sloan, Piper, and Madison.
Oh.
Veterans Day tomorrow is obviously an honor for all of our veterans and those out there, but I've also heard it's a special day for somebody else. Sloan, you got a birthday tomorrow? Yeah? You're gonna be 9 years old already. Well, I don't have the voice to be on American Idol, but I'm gonna help everybody start by saying happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Sloan. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you, Isaac. Let's give all 5 of the Patriot Fleet drivers a round. Come up. He's our Vice President of Maintenance and Equipment, and he's going to tell us about the trucks that the drivers will be getting. Not only are they special in how they're wrapped, but they're the brand new model of Freightliner trucks. So Winston, you want to come up and tell us a little bit about the truck?
First off, congratulations to all of you, well deserved, and I hope you like the truck. So just a quick brief update, some of the safety features and driver comfort options that we expect on these trucks for you guys. So there's the new Cascadia 2018 model year. They've been in production for less than a year now with this new body style, which is kind of cool. You'll be one of the relative few amount of trucks on the road out there, especially in our fleet. I think we only have 20 of these right now, so it'll be the 25th group of trucks. Expect the Detroit 15-liter and DT12 automated transmission, and all trucks have a factory-installed fridge and inverter. From the safety standpoint, they have collision mitigation technology that brakes on slow-moving traffic as well as stopped objects, which is a relatively new feature. So it'd be nice to have and keep you guys safe while out on the road. Spec'd with electronic stability control, which helps prevent rollover and loss of control. The National Highway Transportation Safety Administration says that with the mandate of this technology, that it'll prevent about 1,700 accidents a year. Respect to the automated transmission, as I mentioned, and while not necessarily a safety feature, more probably a driver comfort feature and driver fatigue, not having to press the clutch and shifting. It also comes equipped with adaptive cruise control and predictive cruise control, which are some new features on these new vehicles, and it helps you maintain safe following distances and also helps utilize some GPS technology to help you navigate up and down hills. Some aerodynamic features are tractor skirts, cab extenders, aerodynamic bumpers, and wheel covers. So that's what we have here. Congratulations.
Thank you, Winston. I know what you all been waiting for are these. You have to wait one more minute. We are going to do the presentation of the keys outside. I know it's a little cold, but those of you who want to join us can. But since it is a little bit colder, I'm going to just kind of close up here with the formal part of the ceremony in here, and then we'll go outside and give the keys. I guess just like to end by saying thank you all for being willing to be one of our representatives out on the road. I know from talking to many of the drivers in the past, it is an honor, but it also can be a burden. There are, you've carried that burden before in your service to our country, and now we appreciate you carrying that for us here at Crete Carrier and for your country. I'd like to thank General Bohac for being a part of our ceremony today. We really appreciate you spending the time to come out here. I'd like to thank Dave Snitling and his team for putting this together, John for doing all the setup inside and out. We really appreciate that. And certainly, last but not least, our honor guard for presenting colors today. We really do appreciate that. And then finally, I'd like to give my final thanks to all of our veterans. And as I was trying to figure out what do I say more than what can be said, I found this poem, and sometimes it's from the children of our world that know how to say things more simpler, but yet maybe more precise than I could. So I'm going to recite this poem by Justin. He was a 5th grader at Meek Elementary. Thank you, veterans. Thank you for the job well done. Thank you for the battles won. Thank you for the battles fought. Thank you for the freedom bought. Thank you for the time you served. Thank you for the freedom earned. Thank your families for sharing you. I know they miss you. They really do. I'm sorry for the lives that were lost. Freedom isn't cheap. It comes at a very high cost. I love my freedom, my red, white, and blue. Thank you, veterans, for all you do. Thank you.